And here we are on Outnumbered. I'm Harris Faulkner. Joining me, Kennedy, Jackie DeAngelis, Tommy Lahren, and Lawrence Jones. Big Law's in the house with the flag waving behind him. Did you see it? It was like Lawrence country. Anyway, an act of political violence in upstate New York fortunately turned out okay for the Republican candidate for governor, Congressman Lee Zeldin. He was giving a speech on bail reform at a campaign stop yesterday when a man jumped on stage with a two-pronged blade. And Congressman Zeldin just explained it looked like he was going for his throat. Zeldin grabbed the man's wrist, blocked him at first, but then the man tried to lunge at him a second time, and that's when others had to jump in, including a former veteran at the event who finally took the guy down. Here's a closer look at the suspect's weapon. Remember, I told you it was two-pronged. You put your fingers in there. Very hard to take away from somebody. And if they come from for that soft tissue around your esophagus, around your throat, I mean, they could kill you instantly. Thank the good Lord that didn't happen. And nobody else was seriously hurt. Let's be thankful for that, too. But the incident was pretty horrifying, leading the congressman to tweet this. His words as he tried to stab me a few hours ago were, "You're done." But several attendees, including Esposito for New York, quickly jumped into action and tackled the guy. Law enforcement was on the scene within minutes. The attacker will likely be instantly released under New York laws. Now, Zeldin was right about all that. Although the suspect was charged with a felony, he was released without even having to post bail within hours of his arrest. Lawrence Jones, it's hard not to look at this and go straight to the DA's office with a fruit basket that says, do you have time to talk to these thousands of people out here who want you to do a better job?
The DA's office, the governor's office, because the governor has the authority to
We're going to need more fruit baskets.
You know, we got a lot to go around. And honestly, this can be something across the country. If there was any issue or any election where it should be a one-issue election, it's this election. Literally, the congressman should be campaigning across the state saying it's either crime in the city to continue or in the state to continue, or prosperity. That's what is, I mean, we had the guy that was under the tree who set it on fire and said, oh, it's so beautiful after he set it on fire. And then when it was time for us to relight the tree, he was standing right across the street. Yeah. It wasn't even 24 hours. And it's not just New York. This is happening across the country. I mean, you got Andrew Cashew, that was just released in California. 6 years on a 50-year sentence for murder, and then the DA says that he is disappointed that he recommitted a crime. You're disappointed when your kids don't wash the dishes. You're disappointed when they don't get A's and B's. You're not disappointed when a career criminal commits another act that you let him back on the street. So what needs to happen? If the president wants to come back, and he's going to have a rough journey. We're thankful that the president is doing well because we know that he has COVID. But if he wants something to rally the country, take on every single big city when it comes to crime. You want to see your poll numbers change because obviously the pain and suffering of the American people will not sway him. But take on the criminals in every single city. There's your issue.
So, Kennedy, that's interesting because we saw the nomenclature and the language change in this bill this plan that the president has to fight crime now. He says he wants to fund the police. He wants it. You saw that. The language is changing. I don't know if it accomplishes what Lawrence is talking about, but if that's the old college try, I guess he's given it.
Well, you know, if they had listened to what Lawrence, libertarians and liberty-minded had been talking about in terms of criminal justice reform, all of these cities would be in much better shape because we have been talking about over-incarceration in this country. And so you talk about letting people out who have committed non-violent or consensual crimes. People who are committing violent crimes shouldn't be let go with the desk ticket. And I don't understand how this person was charged with second-degree assault when he was clearly trying to kill the congressman. And, you know, unfortunately, this is a great campaign element for Congressman Zeldin, because he's like, this is what I'm trying to change. You know, a person who is mentally unstable, who fought for this country, came after me. And God bless the guy from AmVets who said,
right.
you know what, I'm gonna get this guy some help, because this man served in Iraq. He is clearly not well. The government has failed him, but the government is failing citizens and victims of crime by letting people out who are just going to recommit those offenses.
How about what you just said? Because that is a part of the story that a lot of people will miss today, right? That this was a veterans event. And they took that guy down and they recognized some things about him. That is really interesting. Let's go to just moments ago. We had it on the Faulkner Focus, Congressman Zeldin talking about what was going through his mind in that very moment of attack.
When he lifted up his hand and he was lunging for my throat area, the first thought was to grab onto his wrist and just to hold it, because there were so many people around that I would expect there to be help quickly. And that's what happened. And Allison was right in the middle of that fray. A bunch of other people came. They tackled this attacker right away.
Did you hear what he said? He said there were so many people around, I expected there to be help. I mean, that's America. That's really where we live.
It is, and I think that that's what we should focus on, too, is the people there that were willing to help and willing to step in if something horrific happened. But as Lawrence alluded to, on the streets, we don't all have that protection. We don't all have veterans around us every day, and you never know whether it's political violence or it's just somebody who is mentally unstable or unwell. We have to be able to feel safe on our streets, and when you've got thugs, felons, degenerates wandering around, people that are mentally unstable, and you got a place like New York that's talking about safe injection sites and no shame if you want to inject, and no shame in anything that's going on in your life, not actually wanting to get these people the help that they need, but essentially excusing the condition that they're in and the place that they're in and saying, it's okay, we'll just put a Band-Aid on it because we don't want to deal with it. This happens in Los Angeles all the time as well. The homeless population is getting incredibly violent in Los Angeles. We just saw Kim Glass being attacked in downtown LA by a homeless person. And these people are likely on drugs and they are likely mentally unstable. They need to get the help that they need. But as Steve Hilton alluded to on Faulkner Focus, if you have the 5th largest economy in the world and you have homeless encampments littering your beaches and along every highway and freeway and people attacking people with metal pipes in downtown LA after they eat lunch in broad daylight, 5th largest economy is not really something to boast about when you've got that kind of problem, especially when you've got a budget surplus like they have. What are they spending this money on, Gavin?
Great question.
Gavin Newsom, here he comes back. You know, right away I saw the ratio in social media against this. Oh, this looked like it was staged. I mean, the politics were dripping. Did you see it?
Yeah.
It made me nauseous. Like it was really hard to take. But we see this. This is happening. And it's wrong. We didn't even know really where Zeldin was in terms of all of this yet. And it had already started.
That's amazing to me. But my sort of different direction on this is to say, what if this would happen to somebody like AOC? Then would it make a difference? Then would people be outraged? I mean, it did happen to a Republican congressman, right? And I'm not sure that there's any coincidence in that, or I don't really know. But having said that, this is a serious problem. Do the Democrats have to get attacked for them to realize or understand how bad it really is? I mean, is that how far it has to go? We walk around on the streets and we're scared to death. I carry pepper spray every day and wonder when is going to be the day that I have to use it. People are sick of this. And Harris, it's bad for business. At the end of the day, it's bad for this city. I've given Eric Adams every opportunity. I'm waiting patiently every day to see him do something about this. He doesn't ask Alvin Bragg to resign. He doesn't tell the governor she should remove him. I mean, I guess the voters are going to have to step up, put a governor in who will remove him. That is the only thing that is going to change this. But people cannot live in fear every single day.
Yeah. Well, we do hear from Hochul when there's a gun involved, because she's got gun legislation that she wants to try to push. Not a lot said about this because this was a double-bladed device. But she did issue a statement wishing him well, Zeldin.
Hey everyone, I'm Emily Campagno. Catch me and my co-hosts Harris Faulkner and Kaylee McEnany on Outnumbered every weekday at 12 p.m. Eastern, or set your DVR. Also, don't forget to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page for daily highlights.